The first nonfiction book I'm going to recommend is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. Henrietta Lacks was diagnosed with cervical cancer back in the 1950s. Doctors know her as Gila. Some of her cancer cells were taken without her knowledge, and those cells never died, and they ultimately became part of one of the most important discoveries in medicine and also part of a multi-million-dollar industry. Her family didn't learn of her immortality until more than 20 years later after her death, and there were some devastating consequences within her family. This book was an eye-opener, and it was very sad to read, but also there were, I think, just a lot of intriguing details in the book. So I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a good nonfiction book to read, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I'm Glad My Mom Died is a book that successfully straddles the line between hilarious and heartbreaking. Jeanette McCurdy is a former child actor of TV shows such as iCarly and Sam and Cat, in which she starred with Ariana Grande. Jeanette in this book is very candid about the struggles that she had with eating disorders, with addictions, and also in her relationship with her overbearing mother. Spoiler alert, she did take control of her life. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a good read, especially with the controversial title. But after reading, you can kind of see why she felt the way that she did. I would highly recommend. Another nonfiction book that I can highly recommend is Confessions of a Prairie Bitch by Allison Arngrim. You may know her as one of TV's most devious characters, Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. She tells a lot of great stories from the set as well as from her bohemian upbringing in West Hollywood. And once again, I have included a book written by a child star that recounts her life. And I highly recommend this book because it gives a lot of insight into the pressures that are put on the children who go into acting and who are successful at it. Allison is now a comedian, and her book is really warm and funny. There are a lot of stories that could be triggers for some people, so you may want to check into that. But I would recommend you read this book because Allison has come out on the other side, and it's a good sharing of her life. I Am Malala is an autographical recount of Malala Yousafzai's early life, of her father's activism and ownership of schools, and the rise and fall of the Pakistani Taliban in Swat Valley. There was an assassination attempt on Malala's life when she was 15 years old. I think that this is such a great story of courage, of standing up for your rights, especially as it pertains to young girls in Pakistan who are not offered the chance to have an education. I really think that we tend to forget here in the States, at least I do, I tend to forget how good that I have it. We as a country have our problems, but reading this book has made me extremely grateful for the opportunities that I have been given as a woman here in the United States. I would highly recommend you read this book. I think Katie Couric has experienced a whole lifetime of dramatic events in her life. That's why I enjoyed reading her book Going There. She holds nothing back as she describes love, loss, and being present during several history-making events, and some mystery-making events, I'm sure. I really enjoyed this book. She handled herself so well in this male-dominated field and made such a great name for herself on the Today Show and even afterwards. I think you'll enjoy reading this book and listening to Katie describe some of the events of her life because she certainly has lived through a whole lot. Don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you on the next adventure.